Hi, I'm Wes. I'm going to do a how-to video on how to grow crops inside. I've just recently started doing this myself, so I'm no expert, but I've been doing a little bit of research, so I'm hoping to share what I've done, and then I have a couple of plants at my house as well. So crops are anything from vegetables to fruits or nuts, anything that you're able to eat. Today, specifically, we're going to be doing broccoli. I chose broccoli because it's a really good crop because it grows in the north, so it won't need more sunlight than what can be provided inside. You won't need like any kind of sunlight, light, or something that artificially provides that. It also is very cold resistant, so what that helps with is if your power goes out again, like happened in my house, your broccoli is still going to survive. And then the overall goal in planting inside is to mimic as much as possible what would be happening outside. So mimic those cycles of seasons and sunlight and whatnot. And so that's why my broccoli survived with the power out, because sometimes in the spring it'll still revert to 30 degrees outside. Broccoli is thankfully equipped to handle that. So the first step is to put the seeds in the freezer. You're going to have to put them in the freezer for at least 90 days to mimic a full winter. And then that'll just kind of put into motion a lot of those innate chemical processes that'll help the seeds. You're going to want to take them out of the freezer 48 hours before you plant them so that they can kind of start to warm up and start to thaw and get into that process so that they can start putting those roots out and grow. Once you've done those two steps, the next important part is to prepare your soil. So I'll be using this tray. I kind of like these trays, but you can use whatever you want. You put the soil down. Preferably you choose organic soil. What that helps with is organic soil, the organic material in there will break down more over time. So in the long term you'll have more nutrition for your plant to pull from versus if you were to just use potting soil. You'll take the seeds and you'll put them 1 centimeter deep into the soil and then cover them. That's an important part so that they don't get too deep, so that when they start growing they can grow up and not get suffocated. When you're spacing them, it's important that, so there's two different techniques that you can do. You could put about 1 every inch or so. That would be a pretty tight spacing, especially in something as small as this. But what you would be able to do then is, as the plants were growing up, you could prune them, or you could just put about 5 seeds in here evenly spaced, where you wouldn't have to do pruning. I'm going to suggest that you do the pruning because you'll end up getting more plants, and you will be sure that in this tray you'll have only the strongest broccoli plants. So once you do that, once you put the seeds in and you space them about every inch or so, you'll then water them. The best way to do it would be with a spray bottle, because it won't disrupt the seeds, it won't move them too much, but you also run a much less risk of overwatering. I don't have a spray bottle to water with, so I just use a water bottle, but you just have to make sure that you do it gently and not too much. Once you have watered them that first time, you're going to take a cover like this and put it on top. Once again, the goal with planting inside is to mimic outdoors, and so this really helps with that because this will maintain moisture that's inside that would be more typical of spring, so you'll create a more humid environment for your broccoli plants as opposed to the very dry one that we have right now. And then once they're in there, you're going to want to put this in front of a window, the one in your house that gets the most sunlight. The best thing would be a south-facing window because that'll get more sunlight and the plants will be able to adapt much better to the cycles of the day if they can get the sunlight for the entire course of the day. Of course, they're also getting more sunlight, so that's helpful. Another thing that this cover helps with is maintaining a different temperature. It'll actually be warmer inside. And then you might actually see, after you've watered, you might actually be able to see the condensation inside. It might get humid in there and you'll be able to see it. You don't have to worry about that. That'll just drip off when it warms up. And then make sure as you continue growing that your seeds are still wet, so continue to water them every day or every other day depending, but make sure that the soil never gets too dry. Thanks for your time.